bit about our relaunch strategy and what reopening means for all of us. But first of all, since last we spoke, there have been 13 additional deaths in the Calgary zone. This is nowhere near over. People are getting ill, people are getting very ill, people are dying. And the fact that we are talking about relaunch and reopening doesn't mean this virus has gone away. If anything, it means we have to redouble our efforts to ensure that we are staying safe and we are staying disciplined. We're counting on you every single day. All right, so as you know, the province announced somewhat surprisingly on Thursday that they would allow golf courses to open under a number of particular conditions that needed to be put in place at each course. And I know some private courses were able to open this weekend. I will say that I have heard very mixed things from golfers about whether physical distancing was able to be in place and whether the changes that were promised to the rules were fully in place at every single hole, at every single course. And so we're going to make sure that that happens, and I will remind private golf course operators that they are subject to these rules and they are subject to bylaw inspection if we are receiving complaints as well. As for city courses, we really needed to ask ourselves some real policy questions. Does the accessibility of city courses outweigh the risk of allowing this practice? Can we actually operate under real and true rules around physical distancing? I mean, to give you an example, we have all these new rules around tennis. We're allowing singles tennis now. I want to know how many of you really were using two different colored balls for each player so that nobody touches the same ball. It's important that these rules are in place. And so the City of Calgary did have to spend some time, and I know our staff worked all weekend to answer the questions on whether we could do this safely and on when we could do it. Because remember that we haven't been hiring seasonal staff and we've laid off a bunch of people at the city, so we had to make sure that we had the staff and volunteers who were able to do this. So I am now announcing that we will be opening public golf courses this summer, that the city courses are aiming to open on May the 14th, and that online bookings are scheduled to open Monday, May 11th at noon. Not everything will be open all at once. We're focusing on opening core courses and services first. Additional courses and ancillary services may come later. And we are following very strictly the National Allied Golf Association guidelines at all courses to ensure public safety. Now, this May 14th opening is dependent on safety. It is mostly dependent on the availability of personal protective equipment for the folks who will be working at those courses. And that includes installing plexiglass at the point of sale. Other than that, we normally hire seasonal people to help us with the golf courses, and that employee recall is on. It's the same process as usual. It's just delayed by a few weeks. We will have power carts and pull carts available. You may only share a power cart with someone who lives in the same household as you. And so more information will come. You can watch the web and social media for more information on that, but we do have a tentative date of May the 14th. Skate parks and other recreational services. We opened skate parks over the weekend. We know that there was a demand for this outlet. Listen, I don't mind telling you, it was a big debate around the City of Calgary whether we should open them or not. Ultimately, we decided to open them because we trust that the users will treat these skate parks responsibly. I have not gotten great reports from this weekend. They've been okay, but not great. I've heard lots of reports at the skate parks of people not physically distancing. Remember, 2 meters, the length of a full-grown llama, or a bicycle length between you. It has to be in place. And skate parks are dangerous because they're high-touch surfaces. So we want to make sure you've got hand sanitizer with you. We want to make sure you are cleaning your hands regularly because you don't know who else has touched that surface, and contact tracing in such a situation is impossible. Listen, education is always preferable to enforcement. We always want people to know what to do the right thing, but I got to be honest with you. If you don't know by now, you're being deliberately ignorant. How many times do I have to say the length of a full-grown llama apart? So at some point, we can't do education anymore. It has to be enforcement, and it has to be about public safety. And I know that we've got great skate park ambassadors, and they're working hard to create a pleasant and safe experience for everyone. But I will tell you, not just skate parks, I'm not just picking on park users, on every user, we will close the parks again if we are seeing public safety problems in those parks. So I ask that everybody planning on using them do so responsibly. I've had lots of questions about playgrounds, and unfortunately, we are not at the point yet where we can open playgrounds. Contact tracing is just too hard. These are really high touch surfaces that children touch, and if a child gets sick, we don't know who touched that before. We can't trace the contact and contain the outbreak. So playgrounds, I think, will still be a little while away. We will get there, but we have to be very, very careful about all of these things. So with that, let me turn it over to Deputy Chief Henry, and she will get into some more detail on where we're at now, and then we'll hear from Sandy. Sue? Oops.
Thank you, Your Worship, and good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today, and I want to take this time to remind everyone that we are still in a state of local emergency, and this is to support the collaborative efforts with the province of Alberta and the city to combat the spread of COVID-19. Last week, we heard details about the government Alberta's opening relaunch strategy. I know many of you likely still have questions about what this relaunch strategy means for our economic activities and our recreational activities during the COVID pandemic. We are still working to clarify parts of the relaunch strategy. We want to make sure that this process is done with caution and safety in mind. As we learn more, we will continue to let you know. We do know a few things do not change for the foreseeable future. Physical distancing, we still need to maintain physical distancing. Good hygiene, and restrictions to the size of our gatherings. We are taking this slow, and we want to do things the right way. There's lots of questions on the weekend and enforcement. Public safety remains our top priority, and over the weekend, our teams remained focused on enforcing the public health orders, requiring no gatherings of over 15 individuals, and maintaining a physical distance of 2 meters. Over the weekend, 16% of the calls to 311 were related to COVID. 128 calls about folks not adhering to the public health orders. 59 of those calls were related to physical distancing in public areas, 26 physical distancing in yards or private areas, and 22 for public gatherings less than 14 people. 21 for physical distancing in playgrounds. Our community peace officers also conducted 189 visible patrols this weekend. This is engaging with over 2,200 citizens on these patrols. Our community peace officers worked very hard to educate and, where necessary, provide verbal warnings to folks who were not following the public health orders or the bylaws. Our position since the beginning of this emergency has been to educate first. Move to a warning and move to a ticket only when there's egregious behavior and it is absolutely necessary. Over the weekend, we did issue some warnings. 32 verbal warnings were issued over 3 days. These were related to open liquor and public consumption of alcohol. 19 warnings were issued for off-leash dogs in designated on-leash areas. We also saw 11 verbal warnings issued for things like parking bylaw concerns, bird feeding, and golfing in a park. Unfortunately, we did hand out 3 tickets on top of those warnings for egregious behaviors. 1 for not physical distancing, 1 for consumption of cannabis in public, and 1 for a violation of the Parks and Pathways bylaw. In total, under the Public Health Act, we saw 83 warnings issued to citizens. Business licenses received 40 new calls over the weekend, bringing the total number of business complaints to 625 since the state of local emergency was announced in mid-March. Calgary Police has issued 27 public health summons since April the 1st of 2020. We are again asking Calgarians to continue to follow the public health orders. Maintain your physical distance. Don't gather in groups over 15 until that order is lifted by the province of Alberta. We're in this for a long time, and we need to get used to that being the new normal. As we talked about briefly last week, Council approved the application of a COVID-19 thank you ribbon decal on city vehicles to honor all of Calgary's frontline workers and essential services staff. These ribbons are a way to publicly acknowledge frontline workers and let them know we're proud of their service, whether they are supporting our health, responding to emergencies, supplying us with clean water, fixing our roads, or keeping our shelves stocked. The city has received a donation of 5,000 brightly colored thank you ribbons from local Calgary businesses. This week, Calgarians will start to see these ribbons on Calgary police units, Calgary Fire Department units, Calgary transit buses, and C-train cars, waste and recycling trucks, and other city-owned vehicles. The city is not printing or selling these ribbon decals. However, any organization or individual that is looking to acquire a ribbon can contact CanWest Legacy by visiting canwestlegacy.com. This week is also Emergency Preparedness Week, and there's no better time than now, especially during a pandemic, to take action to be prepared during all types of emergencies. Questions like, what if another disaster strikes during the pandemic, are no longer hypothetical, as we've already seen flooding in Fort McMurray displacing people from their homes. Our thoughts continue to be with our friends in Northern Alberta. The Canada Task Force 2 Incident Management Team that went to support last week has returned home safely last night. The local community was grateful for their support, and the local community has the emergency well in hand. In Calgary, we're still at risk for seasonal hazards that come with severe summer storms like flooding, hail, tornadoes, thunder and lightning, wildfires, and high winds. It's critical that you as Calgarians do your part to help us be prepared and reduce the load that's on the frontline services that respond in these emergencies. Being prepared with a plan and resources for your household will reduce the need to rely on municipal resources that are also busy responding to the pandemic. Now more than ever, we need to think about how our families will respond to an emergency within an emergency. To help you and your family learn what the risks are for Calgary, we'll be posting information daily on our social media channels. Some of it will be informative, and some will be activities that will help you prepare and build resiliency. Hopefully, with that resiliency, we'll continue to build the great community spirit that Calgary is known for, while still honoring our rules around physical distancing and gathering size. Today, I would like to take a moment and recognize those who have helped us prepare for this COVID-19 fight. As we've said before, we have a strong plan in place, and there are many different people involved in helping us prepare for this pandemic. We couldn't do it without their expertise and their engagement. This is the expertise of an agency of over 60 members that have taken individual and collective actions to make sure we as a City of Calgary are ready. I'd also like to take a moment to thank Calgarians. You've stayed at home during this difficult time, and you've had to make some incredible changes to your routines and your life. Thank you. The actions that you are taking are truly saving the lives of other Calgarians. We are all in this together, and let's make sure that we prepare for the upcoming hazard season together. To learn about the risks in Calgary through our Disaster Risk Explorer, and to learn about your role in helping us be prepared, please visit calgary.ca/getready. With that, I'd like to pass it over to Sandy Davis, Team Lead for River Engineering, to speak a bit about our flood preparedness.
Thank you. The COVID-19 pandemic has been stressful for Calgarians. As we turn our thoughts to the river and the upcoming flood season, many residents may be nervous. I want to reassure Calgarians that we are ready. This season, we are seeing above average snowpack in many places in the mountains. This is good news for our water supply as we head into the summer. We're keeping a watchful eye on it as it begins to melt, as it has resulted in higher levels for this time of year in the Elbow and Bow rivers. But I want to remind Calgarians that melting snow alone does not generally result in flooding in Calgary. The bigger driver of flooding here is from heavy rainfall, which can occur between mid-May and mid-July. Our teams are monitoring these events 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. using updated forecasting and monitoring tools so that we can give as much advance warning as possible. Heading into this year's flood season, Calgary is better prepared and equipped to manage flooding than ever before. On the Elbow River, we've completed the installation of 21 steel gates across the crest of the Glenmore Dam. These gates are 2.5 meters high, and they double the amount of water storage volume in the reservoir that allows us to manage small and moderate-sized flooding on the Elbow River. It also increases the amount of water that we can store in the summer and winter months when the flows on the Elbow River slow. In preparation for this year's flood season, the level of the reservoir has already been lowered. The completion of the Glenmore Dam improvements are an important step forward, but our work is not done. Once the province completes construction of the Springbank Reservoir, these two structures will work together to protect communities surrounding the Elbow River from a 2013-sized flood. On the Bow River, the Alberta government's agreement with TransAlta is in place this year, and the Ghost Reservoir has already been lowered to provide more storage capacity for floodwater and greater flexibility to manage that reservoir for high flows and protect communities along the Bow River. In addition to prepare, we have stockpiled materials for riverbank protection and temporary barriers. We've completed testing of outfalls, lift stations, and pumps, and made preparations for how we can respond considering COVID distancing measures. The COVID pandemic, in combination with the flood season, can be stressful and can be a stressful time for many Calgarians. Because the risk of flooding in Calgary can't be eliminated, and because floods can happen quickly here, being prepared by taking simple steps now to be flood ready is one way that residents can help ease the stress. Check out the city's flood maps to know if your home or community is at flood risk. Take precautions to prepare your family and your property. Review your emergency plan and consider where you might stay if you are asked to evacuate. And stay informed throughout the flood season. We have lots of resources and tips on our website to help you be prepared for flood season. Visit our website at calgary.ca/floodinfo. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Sandy. It's important for all of us to know and remember that even during this pandemic, the work of the city continues, and dedicated and brilliant public servants like Sandy are out there delivering services and looking after all of us every single day. I'm still would be extremely unhappy if we had a major flood event during a pandemic. That really would be it for me. But our friends in Fort McMurray did have to deal with that, and Mackenzie County, and I'm so thrilled to hear that people are going home now. So I want to talk about the province's relaunch strategy again. As I mentioned last week, I was surprised on Thursday afternoon when I heard some of the details of the relaunch strategy, and in particular when I heard that May 14th date. And my first instinctual reaction was that feels way too early. Is 2 weeks long enough for businesses to get up to speed on what they need to do in order to reopen? So while I'm thankful that we've got a strategy, and while I think the strategy is by and large fact-based, evidence-driven, and well thought out, there remain many, many, many questions. And so I'm calling on the government of Alberta now to answer a number of these questions. So first of all, what are your targets? What metrics will you be using to determine if May 14th is a go and when we may get to future stages? So for example, we've heard many folks say that the target to start a reopening is 2 weeks of declining cases. And here in Calgary, we've had a couple of days of declining cases, but if we don't continue that for 2 weeks until May 14th, will that date be pushed back? What is the exact target that we're aiming for? Furthermore, once the stage 1 openings happen on May 14th, what happens after that? How long do we wait and how much do we watch the targets? I've heard some sources, even within the government, imply that the next stages could come just a couple weeks later. Let me be clear, that would be a mistake. The incubation period of the virus is 14 days. So you actually need to leave several weeks, if not a month or more, between stages to see what's happening so that you have the evidence in place in order to make future decisions. Now, ultimately, the city is interested in ensuring that we are working hand in hand with the province on the relaunch strategy. But our primary concern continues to be public health. And we will make sure that as those guidelines are interpreted in the City of Calgary, they'll be interpreted in a way that keeps people safe. Speaking of guidelines, we have heard from many businesses through our business sector support task force, as well as through other mechanisms, that they are very confused as to what it is they need to do. So on one hand, we've heard from the province that they will be issuing direction. On the other hand, we have heard through others from the province that the province will not be issuing direction, but they will ask individual industry associations to create their own rules and then run them by public health to make sure they work. Look, either of these is fine. We just have to clear up the confusion. So, when you think about the folks that might be opening in stage one, hair salons and dentists, let's use those as two examples. I've heard from many dentists, look, we know how to deal with PPE, with personal protective equipment. We have face shields and masks, and we do this all the time. We just don't have enough PPE at the moment. So we may or may not be able to open right away. In fact, I said they were opening May 14th. They're already allowed to open. But we need the PPE first. And, I've heard from dentists saying things like, we're not going to do power scaling. And boy, I could use a little power scaling because too much stuff flies out. And so we will fill cavities and deal with other things. But, the dentists sort of have a good sense. They've got a college, a professional association that is really looking through all of this. But I've heard from many hairstylists that they're not even sure where to begin with this conversation about what operating a hair salon safely looks like. That, do you let people wait? Do you space out appointments? Do you have people wait outside? Do the stylists need PPE? At what level of PPE do they require? Do they need N95 masks, or are face coverings okay? Should they be requiring their patrons to wear a mask? If so, how do you color someone's hair if they've got a mask on? So there's a bunch of questions that are still not answered, and we need some answers from the provincial government so that businesses can make their decisions. I'll give you a couple that I have. Retail stores are able to be opened, but are shopping malls able to be opened? We still have a limit of 15 people. Will businesses be exempt from that limit of 15 people? Or is it 50%? If you're a restaurant, is it 50% or 15 people, whichever is lower? And so these are many questions that we're hearing from businesses, and it's important that we have specific and consistent guidance and best practices, including clear PPE recommendations for different kinds of businesses. Now, the City of Calgary is willing to be a partner on this. I've already asked people at the City of Calgary to work together to try and develop some best practice messaging, looking at what other jurisdictions around the country and around the world are doing. It is really important that we are there to help businesses because we want businesses to be able to reopen, but we want them to be able to reopen in a safe way where they feel confident. And it's not clear under the current rules whether they can. But I want to make one thing extremely clear. No business is required to open. It's a decision you have to make yourself. You have to decide, one, do you think your business can work under these conditions? If it's 50% of capacity, can you actually make money, or would you rather stick with pickup and delivery if you're a restaurant? Number two, and even probably actually number one, more important, are you confident that you can keep your employees and your customers safe? You have to make the decision for your own business for what's right for you and what's right for your business. And if you don't feel confident that you can do it, you don't have to open May 14th. It's not a magic day. You can take some more time. I know I've heard from businesses that are saying, listen, if I don't open it the moment my competitor opens, then I'm going to be in a competitive disadvantage and I'm going to lose my market share and my customers will never come back. And I need to tell you, as someone from a long line of entrepreneurs, it's a valid concern, but it's also strange times. And if you've got a great product Your customers are going to come back. Don't feel rushed because you're worried about losing your customers. Make sure that what you're doing is the right thing for your employees, for your customers, and for your bottom line at the same time. These are all things that we need to continue to work on thoughtfully together. But I also want to speak to citizens on this. And I want to make something really clear. You know, this past Saturday when the weather was really nice, what I observed was that the vast majority of Calgarians are being very careful. And I thank you for that. It's the only reason we're even having this conversation is because people have been so thoughtful and considerate and careful in their own actions over the last several weeks. But there is a minority of people in the city who think, hey, this is go time. I can now do whatever I want. Life is totally back to normal. It is not. Many, many restrictions stay in place. So when I hear stories of baseball games organized on baseball diamonds, I want to remind you, baseball still prohibited. Why? Because if you're any good at it, you're going to touch the same ball as somebody else. And we cannot have that kind of activity. So while some activities have been allowed again, singles tennis with certain rules, disc golf with modified rules that you don't touch the basket, pickleball, I don't know what that is, but I'm told it's popular among Tom's generation. Singles, not doubles, unless you happen to live in the same home. So all of these things are now allowed, but they're a small number. Soccer, basketball, contact sports, any sport where everybody's touching the same ball, not allowed. And we have to remember that this stuff is in place for our own protection. So I'm going to say something to you very straight right now. Relaunching doesn't mean that COVID's gone away. It doesn't mean that the risk isn't there anymore. All it means, if I can quote a meme I saw on social media this weekend, all it means is that there is now room in the ICU for you. It means that because of your efforts, we flatten the curve enough that our healthcare system is not overwhelmed. But I need you to remember something. It's still out there. It's still dangerous. Most people who get sick are fine. Some people who get sick get very sick, and some people die. And in New York State, we know that even if you were lucky enough to get a ventilator, 80% of people who were put on ventilators still died. And so what we know about a reopening and a relaunch is that we will get more cases. It is almost certain that there will be more outbreaks. But we're willing to take that risk because the healthcare system is not overwhelmed. Let's not overwhelm the healthcare system. So what that means is that for every single one of us, we have to double down. We got to work even harder on the first of my three things, clean hands. We got to do everything we can to avoid the virus. And like I said before, everybody knows 2 meters, 6 feet, the length of a bicycle or a moose away. Everybody knows that. I don't need to educate you on that anymore. But we have to do it every single place we go. Public health has recommended that you wear face coverings, even homemade cloth face coverings, when you're going out in crowded places. Wear face coverings when you're going out in crowded places. That includes places like the grocery store or public transit. It's important for every single one of us to continue to act in a way not like we don't want to get sick, but to imagine that we have the virus and we don't want to spread it on to anyone, and every single person we meet is our 90-year-old grandmother. Now, I've heard a small minority of people say, well, if you're scared, you stay home. Don't restrict my ability to do whatever I want. So, given that last week I started a trend of urinary analogies, I'm going to give you another one. There is a reason that there is not a peeing section and a no peeing section in a swimming pool. This is a contagious disease. Like John Donne says, no man is an island. So yeah, if we allow you to go do whatever you want and you get sick, guess what? Those people who are doing the right thing and staying home as much as possible, they still have to go get groceries. They may have someone in their household who's an essential service worker, and you don't want your carelessness to spread to them. You can't pee in the swimming pool without everybody getting a flavor of it. And so fundamentally, every single one of us has to continue. I was going to see if I would get anyone to crack up when I said that, and I think I got Sue Henry. So fundamentally, what we have to do is absolutely ensure that every single one of us is doubling down on this stuff. And I know it's hard because I want businesses to reopen, right? When this weather is out there, the one thing I want to do more than anything else is sit on a patio, maybe a rooftop patio, have nachos and chicken wings and a virgin cocktail. But I can't right now. I can't because I live with a 79-year-old woman. And whatever I bring home, I'm going to bring home to my mother. And so every single one of us need to remember that these sacrifices are tough. It's tough to hear there's still no high school grad, that a wedding has to be postponed. But we're not out of the woods. And now more than ever, the future is in our hands, in our clean hands. So we want businesses to reopen. We want people to go back to work. We want the economy to start again. But in order for that to happen, every single one of us has to take responsibility. It's Cinco de Mayo today. I'm going to go by after I leave the EOC tonight, my favorite taco place just up the street from the EOC. And hopefully they're open. I have to check. And get socially responsible takeout tacos. Because I want that restaurant to thrive. I want them to be there when we can all go together and enjoy the tacos together. But in order for that to happen, we got to look after ourselves first. So my advice after all these weeks has not changed at all. Clean hands. Do every single thing you can still to prevent the spread of this virus. Clear heads. Don't let your emotions, whether it's fear, anger, frustration, or optimism, hope, joy, get the best of you. Every single decision you make has an impact on someone else, and you have to make those decisions in a way that is directional, that is clear-headed, and that is purposeful. Open hearts. We still got to look after one another. We got to look after those local businesses that are suffering. We got to look after those people that are isolated. And we'll get through this as we always get through things together. All right, let's stop there and go to questions. Operator, as they say with the Prime Minister, c'est à vous. First question, please.
First is Kevin Nimick with CTV Calgary. Go ahead, Kevin.
Hi, Mayor. We're seeing an increase in illegal dumping around the city and long lines at the dump for people that choose to do it legally. What's being done to address the demand and stop illegal dumping?
Well, you know, this is a question that has been going on for decades and decades, and I'm starting to hear more complaints about it now. Ultimately, I want to remind people that the city dumps are open. The cost is very reasonable. In fact, right now we're accepting your organics and your composting for free until the end of the month. And I just want to remind people that if you feel like, oh, it's too expensive to go to the dump, remember that there are huge fines if you're caught illegally dumping. Far, far more than you would ever spend at the dump. And I also want to say to homeowners, if you're using this as an opportunity to do renovations, make sure that you are working with an ethical organization. If you hire someone off of Kijiji to take your garbage out, or if you have a contractor, ask them to take a photo and email you the dump slip, the payment receipt, before you pay them. That's the simplest thing you can do to ensure that you are not contributing to this problem, because it drives me insane if people go just outside of the city limits and they dump stuff in farmers' fields. Hey, you know all that baking you're doing? Where do you think the flour comes from? And so it is absolutely critical that we look after our neighbors. And as I say, most people, the vast majority of people, don't even know that the contractors they've hired or the guy they hired with the truck to take away their rubbish is doing this stuff. So that's one simple thing to do. Say, you will get paid when you send me a photo of the dump slip, or you'll get paid the second half or the balance on your deposit when you do that. And I think that'll help a lot. Meanwhile, there are enforcement. Remember, the city can't enforce outside of city limits, but I know our neighbors in Rocky View County and Foothills County are certainly looking at ways to step that up as well. Follow up?
Yeah, Mayor, if I could just follow up on some of the comments you just made regarding the province's reopening strategy.
Yep.
It sounds like by your tone, you're starting to feel more critical of that reopening strategy. Do you think the province is setting businesses up for failure by not providing a clear guide for how to open safely for both themselves and their customers?
You know, I really, really would love to see those limited business openings in the middle of May on May 14th. But we need to make sure that businesses are adequately prepared. Because the worst thing we can do, I've talked before about the analogy of the faucet, the dial instead of the switch, that we open up business a little bit and then we close it. The worst thing we can do is have people go through all the costs of hiring and reopening and then closing down. So it's really important that the business community have clear messaging from the province. They've got strong guidance on best practices. So these things really matter. I'm not saying the province can't do it. I think they can. In fact, I'm confident they can. But the clock is ticking. And we need to ensure that people have the guidance they need in order to do well. And again, I'll repeat, if you're a business that feels you won't be ready for May 14th, you don't have to open on May 14th. All right, next question, please.
Next is Madeline Smith with the Calgary Herald. Go ahead, Madeline.
Hi, I'm wondering from Deputy Chief Henry, once again, if you can give some more details on that ticket that was handed out for physical distancing, where that was and what the circumstances were. And as well, in terms of complaints about businesses, I'm wondering if what you saw this weekend, how that compares to some of the complaints in the past, if there was a higher volume, or if you saw some businesses kind of trying to jump the gun and open up too early this past weekend.
Thank you for those questions. I'll start with your enforcement question first. And the 3 tickets that were handed out, 2 of the tickets were 2 males that were sitting together. They were sitting on a bench on Crescent Road sharing a cannabis joint. The adult male was issued a ticket under the Public Health Act, and the younger male was a youth, and they were issued a cannabis ticket. The third ticket, was a male young offender that was using the wading pool off of Riley Park for skateboarding. The wading pool is not in operation and is closed to the public and does have fencing around it. The ticket was issued and the parent was notified in that circumstance. And then for your second question around the amount of businesses, I apologize, I don't have the number for what it was last week, but there were 40 new calls over the weekend, and the total of complaints was 625. And as His Worship referenced, we are seeing some businesses that are excited to open and are working to get open as soon as they can, and some of those are ahead of the May 14th deadline, so we're working very closely with our teams to make sure that it does not occur.
Sorry, which was the physical distancing ticket? Was that related to the 2 people on Crescent Road?
Correct. That was the adult male on Crescent Road that was with the youth.
Okay, I see. I'm just wondering if I know you don't have the numbers from in the past, but is there anything more you can say about the volume of complaints about businesses over the past weekend? Like, was it increased compared to what you've been seeing in past weeks? Do you know?
Our 311 complaints were actually down compared to what we've seen over the last few weeks.
Okay, thank you.
Any follow-up, Madeline?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Next is Darren Krause with Livewire. Go ahead, Darren.
Thanks very much. From what I understand, some of the biggest concerns at Calgary parks are in the parking lots. I understand that Stanley Park, Sue Higgins Dog Park, and Nose Hill Park have parking concerns virtually every day. Is there anything that's being done specifically around the parking lots to limit some of the activity that's going on there?
Well, the parks that you mentioned are very large parks, and we have not had very many social distancing issues once people are in the park. And so fundamentally what we're saying right now is just park like a decent human being. Don't crowd people in. And because people arrive and leave at different times, you know, the social distancing when you're getting into your car is not something that we're hugely fussed about. Just be commonsensical about it. And if, you know, you can see that the people are loading the car next to your car, just hold off for a little bit. I will say that we are doing routine patrols across all of our parks. I get a report every Monday on how things went on the weekend. And I do know that there have been a couple of parks in the city. I know Sue Higgins Park is one of them, perhaps Stanley Park, that are really close to capacity. So let's put it this way. If the parking lot is full, then don't park on the street or park like an idiot and go to the park anyway. If the parking lot's full, that probably means the park is full and it's an opportunity to go somewhere else. Follow up?
I just have a quick follow-up. It's kind of in line with some of the questions that Councillor Woolley asked last week. I mean, you'd mentioned that some of the parks like Stanley Park, even Sue Higgins Dog Park, we're seeing a lot of traffic in these areas. And I'm just wondering, you know, with the COVID situation, with the budget situation, are we running into an area where we're not going to be able to keep the parks up, or there's going to be like long-term damage to some of these parks with more and more people coming here to get out into the city parks as opposed to, say, provincial parks or national parks?
No, the provincial parks are open now. And although we're seeing good use of our parks, I wouldn't say that we're seeing, you know, tremendous overuse of our parks. So Sue Higgins is a good example. It's a busy dog park all the time. And it remains a busy dog park. But we will continue to maintain a good level of cleanliness and service to these parks, just as we always do. All right, next question, please.
Next is Isaiah Lindo from Livewire Calgary. Go ahead, Isaiah.
Hi, good afternoon. During this COVID-19 pandemic, we've seen Calgary's motorways open up a little bit. So what effect has the COVID-19 pandemic had on construction projects around the city?
We continue to do the work. Construction is considered an essential service. We had a bit of a late spring this year, so we got off to a bit of a slower start, but we are continuing to do the work. And usually a few weeks before now in the year, I give my pothole speech. So I'll give my pothole speech now. Our ability to control the road conditions in Calgary is very good compared to most Canadian cities. You do see potholes, obviously, in the spring, as you would everywhere. So a lot of those are automatically measured on major roads. But if you have a pothole that is of concern or road repair that is needed, call 311. We'll put it on the list. And we'll ensure that we get to that. So we're trying to get, now that the weather is nicer and the traffic is a little lighter, we are trying to get ahead of some of those repairs. Follow up?
Yeah. So all the projects, the construction projects that have or were started before the pandemic, can we expect delays such as the Crow Trail and bridge over Boat Trail?
No, not really. There may be some very minor delays just because we've had to change some of our working conditions to allow for a bit of distancing between the workers and so on, but I can't imagine that you're going to see major delays on things that were already underway. There are a very small number of projects where we were in the midst of awarding the project to someone to do the work or even to an architect. And at the beginning of this, that got hard because suddenly you couldn't have face-to-face meetings. But even all of that has been sorted. So on those projects, I wouldn't imagine delays of more than a few weeks maximum. All right, next question, please.
Next is Thomasina De Silva with Global TV Calgary. Go ahead, Thomasina.
Hi, it's Tomasia. I'm just wondering if we're hearing from some people, including Lethbridge's mayor, that perhaps Calgary and southern Alberta, some of the places that are harder hit, should open businesses and things like that, have a relaunch plan later than other parts of the province. Mayor, is that feasible at all? How would we keep people from going to cities that are not hit as hard as Calgary and the South Zone has been?
Thanks, Tomasia. You know, it is feasible. Anything is possible. And in fact, we heard Premier Legault yesterday suggest that he's going to push back his dates for Montreal. The question is if that's a wise thing to do. So the South Zone is a great example. Newell County, for a long time, had basically 0 cases. And then in 3 days, they went to the highest number of active cases in the country because of the outbreak at JBS in Brooks. And so we have to understand that there, but for the grace of God, go you. Everywhere is one outbreak away from being a hot zone. And so if we were to make different rules for Calgary or for the Southern Alberta for the zone, they would have to be very logical and they'd have to follow how people move and how people commute. So, for example, we couldn't have restaurants not open in Calgary but open in Airdrie and Cochrane or Chestermere. That just wouldn't make any sense. And so, if we were to do things like that in conjunction with the province, they'd have to be broadly reflective of how people move and how people commute. Follow up?
What about how would we stop people from going to Edmonton? I mean, would there be?
Yeah, we wouldn't. There are no toll booths on the QE2, and so looking at this from a provincial perspective. Now, to be fair, we can't stop people from going to Saskatchewan, but we also have to very clearly look at how people are moving. And so, for me, if I were advising the province, I would say that the level of restrictions that you think are appropriate for Calgary are the level of restrictions you should have across the province. All right, next question, please.
And we have a final question in the queue is Kevin Nimick with CTV Calgary. Go ahead, Kevin.
The Stampede is still canceled. That'll never get old, Kevin.
Is it now? Okay. Well, I do have something else.
Go ahead.
There's a petition I'm sure you're aware of from Project Calgary, calling on the city to close more streets and lanes to open up areas for distancing for cyclists and walkers. Now that we know that there is less demand on our roads from motorists, why hasn't that work already been done?
It's totally been done. We've opened more lanes every weekend. So it's surprising that they're calling for something that started a month ago. But, whatever. We will continue to do that. But we have to remember that as businesses start to reopen, the traffic's going to start to go up again. So, for example, my colleagues in Calgary Transit, as they're responding to the relaunch strategy, they got to think hard about building up transit hours again. So, certainly I'm not announcing which lanes and which roads are closed because I don't want to encourage people to say, hey, let's go have a street party there. But we've been very responsive to opening up more lanes everywhere. Now, the other thing that I don't know if it's the Project Calgary group you're talking about, but I know there has also been a group that's been asking to open up more roadway for patios and for street retail. That is a great idea because it'll allow restaurants that have to operate at 50% capacity to get a few more people. We have pretty easy policies on patios as it is. But I've reached out to city administration and asked them to make it even easier for this time period, and they will be reporting to council about that on Monday. Follow up?
No, I was just going to, I guess. So I'm just going to ask about this patio idea. I hadn't heard that before, but could this be across the city, or would that be more for the Stephen Avenue, 17th Avenue kind of area?
Those places typically have patios already. And so, if you think about, Kensington Road, there's a couple of restaurants, at least one on the north side of Kensington Road, that have created temporary patios out of parking spaces that would otherwise be street parking. And those are the kinds of things I'd like to see. We'd like to see if we can waive fees and remove some of the red tape on those, at least to help those restaurants get back on their feet. So with that, let me say thank you, everybody. We will be back here, knock on wood, on Thursday. And again, nothing ever changes. It's in our own hands. Clean hands, clear heads, open hearts. Stay safe. Stay home if you can to protect those who can't. Be kind to everyone always. And together we will save lives. Thank you all.